guys, welcome back to my garage. I'm going to talk a little bit about my table saw today. This is a 317.248/840 Craftsman 10-inch table saw. I bought it 3 years ago at a garage sale. I paid $80 for it, and it came with all the attachments, the safety guard and all that kind of stuff, and a big box of blades. I paid $80 for it. I've been using it extensively for 3 years, and it's been a good saw. I haven't really had any problems with it, with the exception of the fence. Anytime I've had to cut a real precise piece, I had to always make sure that fence was square with the blade, because it had a tendency to, when I clamped it down, it has a tendency to push this way in the back. So I always clamped it down. I had to get my tape measure, measure each side of the blade, and make sure it was square. That's really the only problem I had. The part here for the safety blade guard and stuff like that, it had a piece missing when I bought it, and so I never used it. Never had any kind of a guard or riving knife or anything like that on it, which always bothered me, because I just knew I'm kind of absent-minded sometimes, and it'd be real easy for me to not forget what I'm doing and rub my hand up against that blade or something and cut one of my fingers off. I was watching a video online the other day. A guy was talking about his table saw and how he had slit the whole side of his hand and cut his pinky off, and luckily the doctors were able to recover it and sew it back on. But he kind of lost use of that little hand, pinky. So after lots of deliberation and discussions with my wife and wanting something safer in the shop, because I use the saw every day, this is probably the most dangerous piece of equipment you can have in your shop, and I wanted something that was safer, something that would have the blade guards but would be out of the way if I needed to get them out of the way and stuff like that. I didn't film the making of this it'll come to me here in a minute. Crosscut slit. But I made it last week actually, thinking this would be safer, and it is if I'm doing crosscuts. You know, I can put a 2x4 or a piece of wood in it, and it's a whole lot safer. You don't have to put the small edge up against the fence. It's dangerous to do that. You always want the longest end up against the fence. But if you're cross-cutting, you can't always do that. That's where a cross-cut stud comes in handy. You just stick the board in there and run it through the saw. So that's real nice and it's real handy. But I do more ripping than I do cross-cutting. I have a small one of those miter saw, and then I've got the big Harbor Freight miter saw down here, and but I keep that one on the bench if I got to cut a 2x4 or a small slat or something like that. Instead of pulling out this big table saw, I just chop it off at that little miter saw. Anyway, let me show you what we're going to do tonight. We're going to do an unboxing of a Harbor Freight table saw. Oops, no, it's not Harbor Freight. It's Delta. It's a Delta 36725, and no, I didn't buy it from Harbor Freight. They don't really have a whole lot for table saws at Harbor Freight. What they do have is pretty chintzy. But I did a lot of research online, read a lot of reviews. I looked at the rigid R4512, and it had a lot of issues with the blade alignment. I was real interested in the Bosch 4100-09, which is a really nice table saw, but it's more of a portable saw. I wanted to get something as close to the cabinet saw as I could. And this one here kind of fit the bill. It's got casters on the bottom, so I can roll it around if I need to, but it's got the size and the weight, and it's made like a regular cabinet table saw. It's got 1.5 horsepower induction motor, belt driven. It's got the Uh, the dust ports on it, it's a regular shop table saw. It's not like a little portable one you take to a job site or something. And that's what I wanted. I wanted something stable and something that had a nice large table on it. I'm not going to be able to get it all together tonight. I'm going to try and get the base and stuff put together. Then I got a buddy coming over sometime this week that's going to help me get the top and stuff put on, because it's the thing weighs like 250 pounds. So I doubt if I'd be able to do it all myself. So I'm going to have to call one of my friends in to give me a help with it. Anyway, I'm going to grab a utility knife. We'll cut the box open and see what's inside. When I picked it up at Lowe's, the box was right here. When I was there on the floor, I took pictures of it and said if there's anything damaged inside the box, I'm going to bring it back. And it's the only one they had. They even looked. They said they had another one somewhere, but they couldn't find it. I guess it was a display model. It wasn't in the box. This is the only one they had still in the box. So I ended up getting it, but like I said, I took pictures with the phone. And so if there is any damage or anything that's missing or something like that, I'll be taking it back to Lowe's. And I'll tell you what, it comes in real handy when you own a skid steer, because I unloaded this thing out of my wife's car right onto the bucket of the skid steer and brought it over here to the garage. That was real nice. I use the skid steer for my dump truck service. Sometimes I have jobs where I have to load the truck or something like that, so I keep the skid steer there and get to do a skid steer job once in a while, or use a skid steer, you know, in the process of doing the job. But it comes in handy right here at the house too sometimes. Anyway, we got a manual here. One thing a lot of the reviewers said online is the manual kind of sucks as far as the installation instructions. But somebody wrote that if you go to the Delta website and download the updated version of it, it's a lot more accurate and a lot more detailed. So I'll probably kind of just look through this tonight and then get that manual online and get the installation instructions off their website. It's got the side panels here. I don't know if you can see that picture or not. It's got the little side panels right here. That's what's up on top. It's got a tubular frame, which I kind of like, because like the rigid 4512, it had a full frame on the bottom all the way to the floor, and then they had the casters and, you know, the lift mechanism to roll it. But I'd rather have it open on the bottom so I can clean the sawdust and clean around the table saw easier without having to move the table saw. I can just stick my wand of my shop vac in between the wheels and be able to clean the sawdust and stuff out. So that's one thing I really liked about this one that I didn't care for about the rigid 4512. The rigid had some major problems with it was actually a cheaper saw. It was, let's see, $70 cheaper than this one. And it looked like a really nice saw, but probably 6 out of every 10 reviews I read, people were having problems with the blades falling out of alignment. When you raise a blade up and down, the back of the blade would fall out of alignment. The front blade would be like at 10 inches and a quarter, and the back of the blade would be at 10 inches and an eighth. It'd be sometimes 1/8 or 1/4 inch off. And it wasn't a problem with aligning it, it was a problem with the manufacturer. Something down inside there was causing it, that housing that the trunnion sits on, to shift back and forth when you raise the blade up and down. If it had been 1 or 2 you know, reviews, I would say maybe they just got bad luck, but it was quite a few of them. And I read a couple places where they said they fixed it and they redid the mounting brackets and stuff like that. But you know, once you read a review like that, then you start second guessing yourself. And I think I made the right choice with the Delta. It's a fairly new model. Some of the people say that it's going to be hard to get parts for it until they get all the parts in the system and stuff and get things rolling, because it is a brand new model table saw that Lowe's carries now. And but I don't think it'll be a problem. I went to their website and I saw parts lists and stuff like that. So I don't think it'll be a real problem. I like the miter gauge. Let me get a little close-up of the miter gauge. It's all metal, it's not plastic. I was surprised at the DeWalt. I looked at the DeWalt and it was one of those big job site table saws, but the miter gauge was a little flimsy plastic thing that you would have probably found at Harbor Freight. I was real surprised how cheaply made and flimsy. But you can see with this miter slot, it's all metal. And it also has a wheel on the end of it right here. So you can adjust it if you're getting a little bit too much slack in the miter slot. You can adjust this wheel and it'll tighten up in the miter slot and give you a more accurate slide. Another feature I like about it, you loosen this wheel and all the different angles lock in place. This little mechanism right here down on the bottom, like if I want to set it at 45, it locks itself into place and you just tighten the handle down. So I thought this is, for the type of saw it is, I thought this is a real nice miter gauge for it. That's one thing I liked about the saw was the miter gauge and the reviews. And the rest of it here is basically, this is part of the fence system. It's got the ruler and stuff on it, and this actually slides inside here like that. The fence, they say, is I can't remember what starts with the B, and it's a German name, I can't remember, but they say it's real close to something like that. And for a $600 saw, they said it's got a really excellent fence on it. So I think I got a good deal for the money. I tried to get some coupons and stuff, like when I bought that drill press. When I bought that drill press, I was able to go online to the Sears website, and then I went and found some promo codes and stuff, and I ended up getting that about 20% off on that bandsaw. And I thought I could do the same thing with Lowe's, but they're a little more stingy with their promo codes, because I ended up paying full price for it, except for the 5% I get for using my Lowe's card. But I sold, or I'm in the process of selling, old pickup truck I used to have. That still runs and is on the road. I just not going to do any more repair work to it. And I'm going to sell it and then pay the table saw off when I sell the truck. So, and it's on Craigslist now. So if you're looking for a nice little Chevy S10, I got one for sale. But the rest of this stuff is more parts. This is part of the framing system that it falls on. It's got wheels here that connect to this side that sits on the floor. And then the other piece also has casters, and it has a lift system. It has just a 1-foot lift system. It's got a pedal right here. And this lift system, just push down on it, and it picks the saw up so you can wheel it around. And then when you're done, you just flip it up like that, and it sits back down on the floor. I checked it out at Lowe's, and when the wheels are up off the floor and it's sitting down on the floor itself, it's real stable. I even picked the wheels up and rolled it around a little bit right there on the display, and it seemed to work real well. Because that's important to me, because a lot of times I need to move the saw and stuff around to get to things. I'm not sure if I'll be able to keep it in the same spot yet, because this saw is quite a bit bigger than the Craftsman. Alrighty, I got it all put together. I didn't shoot any video of me assembling it because there's a lot of videos online of people giving you instructions and stuff on how to assemble it. A lot of people said their instructions were kind of confusing, but I don't really think they were. I really didn't have any problems except for the rail system, which everybody has problems with. In order to get it nice and square and zeroed in, that took a while to do. I probably spent more time doing all the fine tuning and adjusting on the riving knife, the fence, and the rail system on it than I did putting it together. But I think I got it pretty much zeroed in to where I want it now. So the way I'm going to do this video today is I took some pictures and shot a little bit of other video before I started this, and I'm going to just kind of edit it and talk about it as we go. And then when we're done with that, I'll come back here and we'll put a piece of wood through it, turn it on, and demo it for you. My first impressions, let's go ahead and start with that, is it's a very nice saw. When I went to Lowe's and picked it up and looked at the display model, I was really surprised how big it was. It's a behemoth. It's a big saw, a lot bigger than I thought it was. My little Craftsman is about half the size of this one. I like the Craftsman saw. It did me a good job for 3 years. I paid $80 for it at a garage sale, and it came with a big box full of blades and different stuff. And yesterday, within 8 hours of putting it on Craigslist, I sold it for $150. So I got a pretty good deal on that Craftsman. I actually made money on it. But anyway, this was a lot bigger than I thought it was going to be. But let's go ahead and shut this off now and start the in-depth look of it, okay? Alright, let's start out with the power switch. It's nothing fancy, it's just you pull it out to start the saw, push it in to stop. Doesn't have any key or anything in it for safety, a safety key where you can take it out and it disables the switch. It's just a normal switch, which is fine. I don't have any kids or anything around here, so it don't really bother me. It is in a good location, it's easy to get to. In a different location what the Craftsman was, so it's taken me a while to get used to. I keep reaching for the switch where the Craftsman was, but that's just something I need to get used to. Okay, this is the push stick that comes with the saw. It's stored on the left hand side of the saw underneath the table. I kind of find it kind of awkward and hard to get to. I like my push sticks in easy reach when I need them, and this one seems a little awkward to get to, and the way it attaches on that little clip, it's kind of hard to get on and off. So this push stick will probably stay right where it's at until I really need it. I have 2 homemade push sticks that I'll be using, and be showing you where here in a minute where I keep those. Alrighty, as you can see, here's my push sticks. I've just made a little notch so I can hang them up on the front. They're easy to get to. That here is adjustment for the height of the blade. It has a center knob that you loosen to raise the blade up and down. You turn it clockwise to raise it, counterclockwise to lower it. Once you get it in the position you want, just tighten the knob down a little bit and it'll stay nice and snug. One of the selling points of this saw was that blade height adjustment knob. I like the idea of having the center knob there to lock down the adjustment. Some of the saws didn't come with that, and there were complaints in some of the reviews that the saw blade would move its position when you were sawing, which would be fine if you were just cross-cutting or ripping, but if you were doing dados it would be a problem. But that's one thing I liked about this saw, was that locking mechanism. This is probably my least favorite feature of the saw. See how the handle drops down? You have to hold it up to move that fence. If you don't hold it up, it's real hard to move. So I guess it's just something I'll have to get used to. In the front of the saw is the dust port. It's a 2.5-inch dust port for your shop vac. It seems to be worked adequately. I wouldn't say it's the best dust collection I've seen on saws, but it seems to do okay. Probably catches maybe 80% of the dust. I saw some saws that have the belly on the bottom with the exhaust, the vacuum port on the bottom of the saw, which is kind of awkward to get to. This one here, it has goes underneath the blade and has like a shroud that goes on the bottom half of the blade, and that's how it catches the sawdust. It's neither here nor there. It seems to work just fine, and it's nothing that I'm going to write home about though. One of the better features that I liked about this saw was their mechanism for lifting the saw up off the floor so you could roll it around. Right now the pedal that is pictured is down, so it's ready to roll. That's one thing I liked about this saw, is when you put it together, you can choose to put it on the right side or the left side. The instructions have it going to the right side of the saw, but I found that a little bit awkward because you got the longer table on the right side, and it just seemed a little bit harder to move. So I ended up putting it on the left side, which seemed to be a little bit easier. The table's a little shorter. But this is a nice feature about the saw. It's real easy to lift it up and down. Okay, and this is the pedal with the saw sitting on the floor, and the casters are up. On either side of the pedal, you see the rubber feet that sit on the floor. These feet are adjustable by screwing them in and out. And on top of the tubular frame, there are 2 set screws on each foot that will lock your adjustments into place, so the saw can't vibrate and fall out of adjustment. Alright, let's talk about the safety features. You got the pawls, the blade guard, and the riving knife. They're very easy to take on and off. They're all modular to where you can, except for the riving knife, you can either use the pawls or the blade guard, or either one. I'll show a video of me taking them off. Okay, you just take that lever, flip it forward towards you, lift the blade guards up, and they just fall right out of the slot. Very easy to take off. The pawls, it's got a little button there on the side. Push that in, it releases it out of that metal slot, and it comes off real easy. And there's the riving knife. I didn't do the video of taking the riving knife off the saw, but if you lift that face plate up, there's a locking lever inside there that you push up, and it releases the riving knife. The riving knife also has 2 positions. One's for through cuts, one is for non-through cuts, like dados or something like that. Now I learned the hard way that if you have that in the wrong position, trying to do a through cut, your material will hit the front of the pawl, and it'll take you a while to figure out why you're getting stuck, what you're getting stuck on. So if you're doing a through cut, make sure that riving knife is in the very top position. If you're doing dados or something like that, then you can move it down into the second position. Okay, putting it all back together just as easy. I put the pawl on first. It goes into that middle slot. It's got a little button right there that you push to put it in the slot. And once you get it in the slot, release the button and it'll lock into place. One thing I did notice that left pawl will sometimes get caught inside the slot. And so I took the pliers and I just bent it a little bit to keep that pawl from sliding into that slot. But it's real easy to take on and off. The blade guard is also easy if you turn it the right way. Put it in that back slot. Get it lined up. Once you get it lined up, pull the blade guards down and push the lever and it locks into place. Both guards are independent for thin wood, and also you can take the both and lock them up into place. If you want to lift them up, then they'll lock into place, which I really like. It's a good system. Okay, and as you can see, I've already made my first jig for the table saw. made a little caddy for my pencils and my tape measure, and since I'm editing this video, I've also made places for the different hex Allen wrenches that you use to make different adjustments for the saw. I placed them all in there, and I'll show that next time. I'm going to forego the demo of actually cutting with the saw because this video is getting kind of long. But since I've done this, I've already made a crosscut sled, and I'm going to do a video on the crosscut sled that I built for it, and at that time I'll do a demo. So I hope this review has helped you make a decision whether you want the saw or not. If you have any questions or any comments or something I missed you have want to know something about, please leave me a comment, and I'll be glad to answer any questions you might have. And we'll talk to you all next time.